In 1986, millions of Filipinos rose against tyranny. The People Power Revolution toppled Ferdinand Marcos Sr., ending 2 decades of dictatorship and alleged plunder. Democracy returned, and with it, a promise: never again. But nearly 40 years later, corruption didn't die. It evolved. It learned to hide behind laws, titles, and campaign slogans. Today, the Philippines ranks 117th out of 180 countries in Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index. The dream of clean governance. Still a dream. After Marcos, democracy was supposed to be the cure. Instead, corruption adapted. Pork barrel funds became the new currency of influence. Political dynasties thrived. And while laws were passed to fight graft, enforcement lagged behind. Every peso stolen is a classroom unbuilt, a hospital understaffed, a road left in ruins. These are not convictions. These are allegations, documented in hearings, audits, and whistleblower accounts. But together, they reveal a troubling pattern. So, we pulled together a list: the 10 allegedly most corrupt Filipinos after Marcos Sr.'s exile. Let's be clear, this is not a conviction list, not a legal judgment, and definitely not a declaration of guilt. These rankings are based on allegations documented in official reports, Senate probes, whistleblower testimonies, investigative journalism, and government audit findings, then ordered by the amounts involved. Are these people actually corrupt? Maybe. Are some allegations just political payback? Quite possibly, and in a few cases, probably. Let's be honest, not every accusation smells like truth. Some smell a lot like revenge. But here's what the records say. Let's dive in. Bong Revilla became one of the most talked about names in the massive PDAF, pork barrel scam. A scandal that exposed how lawmakers funneled public funds to fake NGOs for kickbacks. He was accused of channeling 517 million pesos of his PDAF to bogus Lim-Napoles-linked NGOs, plus allegedly receiving 124.5 million pesos in kickbacks through his aide, Richard Cam, who was later convicted. When the government tried recovering 224 million pesos, Revilla allegedly refused and was accused of hiding 200 million pesos, some of it sitting quietly in his bank accounts. The AMLC flagged the accounts, but by then, the money was reportedly long gone. In 2014, Revilla was detained at Camp Crane on plunder and graft charges. For a moment, it felt like justice was finally catching up. But in 2018, the Sandigan Bayan acquitted him. And by 2021, all graft charges were dismissed. Critics weren't convinced. Many still see him as the face of the PDAF controversy. In 2025, he failed in his re-election bid. Total amount linked to him in allegations: 1.015 billion pesos. Joseph Estrada holds a unique place in history, the first Philippine president ever convicted of plunder. But his list of controversies didn't start or end there. He was accused of pocketing 10 million pesos a month from Yueteng lords. Exposed by his former drinking buddy, Chavet Singson, he allegedly funneled 545 million pesos in illegal funds through a youth foundation he controlled, misused 130 million pesos in tobacco taxes, and earned 189 million pesos in commissions from the Belcor stock deals. He was also linked to market manipulation, involving 3.2 billion pesos in BW Resources shares under the alias Jose Velarde. Even as Manila mayor years later, the controversies followed him. The COA flagged 389 million pesos in questionable city spending, and he was tied to a scandal involving 200 million pesos in luxury vehicles, allegedly distributed to friends and political allies. In 2007, Estrada was convicted of plunder and sentenced to life in prison. But weeks later, then, President Gloria Arroyo, fully pardoned him. Total estimated amount tied to allegations, 4.729 billion pesos. Coming in at number 8 is Nicanor Faeldon. Back in 2017, while he was running the Bureau of Customs, billions of pesos worth of shabu slipped straight through Philippine ports like ghosts in the night. Senators Ping Lacson and Franklin Dryland publicly called him out. Whistleblower Mark Tagaba pointed right at him. Faeldon was accused of one of two things: being dangerously incompetent or being directly in on it. Neither sounded good. He was later moved to the Bureau of Corrections, supposedly for a clean slate. Instead, he lit another powder keg, the GCTA for sale scandal. Hundreds of inmates, including convicted killers and other high-profile criminals, were allegedly released early in exchange for cash. Watchdogs and senators accused Faeldon of turning Bucor into a pay-your-way-to-freedom operation. Senate hearings piled up. Witnesses testified. A pattern started to take shape, one that painted Faeldon as someone who protected corrupt networks in both customs and Bucor. Yet, despite the public outrage, no plunder case, no graft charges, nothing stuck. President Duterte fired him, but as of 2025, Faeldon remains free, uncharged, and legally untouched. Total amount tied to allegations, 6.4 billion pesos. At number 7 is Mike Arroyo, husband of former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, and according to critics, often the real power behind many controversies during her administration. His name kept popping up in scandal after scandal, always behind the scenes, always in the shadows. In the infamous 17.7 billion peso ZTE-NBN broadband deal, whistleblowers Joey De Venecia III and June Lozada accused him of pocketing 2.3 billion pesos in kickbacks. Then came the election stories. Claims that he bankrolled massive vote-buying operations in parts of Mindanao, allegedly funneling 500 million pesos to 1 billion pesos into special operations. His former aide, Veronica Bing Rodrigo, also accused him of taking 50 million pesos in lobbying money tied to telecom franchises. Add to that, 20.5 million pesos in allegedly misused PCSO funds. A corrupt rice import deal costing taxpayers 9.5 million pesos. Multiple scandals he was linked to while shielded by his wife's presidency. He was indicted in 2007 for the ZTE deal, posted bail, and by 2016, the charges were dropped. Total amount tied to allegations, 9.08 billion pesos. At number 6 is Fidel V. Ramos, the president many Filipinos remember as the cool-headed leader who brought economic growth and relative political calm. But beneath the legacy and glowing headlines sit billion peso controversies that quietly faded from public conversation. The biggest one, the Clark Centennial Expo. What was supposed to be a patriotic centerpiece ballooned into a 9 billion peso pork barrel disaster. KOA flagged padded contracts, inflated costs, and a maze of shady deals. Then there was the Bonifacio land deal, involving what is now BGC. According to the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, the land was undervalued by 1.7 billion pesos, making it one of the most blatant undervaluation cases in Philippine history. Ramos was also linked to the Libya Fund scandal, where a $200,000, about 10 million pesos, diplomatic donation from the Libyan government mysteriously vanished. According to WikiLeaks and PCIJ documents, the money simply disappeared. Despite the audits, exposés, and Senate hearings, Ramos never faced plunder or graft charges. Total amount tied to his administration's controversies, 10.7 billion pesos. Number 5 is Andal Ampatuan Jr., best known as a principal suspect in the Maguindanao massacre, the deadliest election-related killing spree in Philippine history. But the corruption side of his story is just as massive. A COA audit revealed that the Ampatuan clan charged the government 238 million pesos for diesel deliveries that never even happened. The AMLC later uncovered a jaw-dropping empire of hidden assets, 597 bank accounts, 132 vehicles, 113 houses, 142 firearms. Ombudsman findings showed over 100 million pesos in unexplained wealth traceable to the family, 55 million pesos from Andal Sr., and nearly 55 million pesos from Andal Jr. And in 2023, separate from the massacre case, he was convicted of 21 counts of graft tied to overpriced fuel contracts, total amount linked to allegations, 11.2 billion pesos. At number 4 is Janet Lim-Napoles, the mastermind behind the biggest corruption scandal in modern Philippine history, the PDAF pork barrel scam. From 2007 to 2009, she allegedly engineered the funneling of lawmakers' pork barrel funds into fake NGOs she controlled, siphoning billions of pesos in public funds. The COA and whistleblower Ben-Hur Louis exposed how 2.157 billion pesos in PDAF was diverted to Napoles-owned or Naples-linked NGOs. Lawmakers received massive kickbacks for channeling their pork through her network, and her scandals didn't stop there. The 728 million peso fertilizer fund scam, the 900 million peso Malampaya fund scam, a 2001 military procurement case involving 3.8 million pesos in overpriced Kevlar helmets. In recent years, courts ordered Napoles to pay more than 300 million pesos in civil penalties in cases involving Bong Revilla and others. But the damage, the lost funds, the broken trust, that was already beyond repair. In 2015, Janet Lim-Napoles was convicted of plunder and sentenced to life in prison. More convictions came in 2021 and 2023. Graft, bribery, malversation. One after another, the judgments stacked up until she was staring at over 100 years of combined prison time. Total amount linked to her alleged schemes, 13.85 billion pesos. At number 3 is Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, whose presidency was rocked by some of the biggest corruption controversies the country has ever seen, and she was right in the middle of nearly all of them. She was accused of approving the 17 billion peso ZTE-NBN broadband deal in exchange for kickbacks. Then came the 728 million peso fertilizer fund, allegedly routed into fake NGOs under her watch. The PCSO scandal followed, with 66 million pesos in intelligence funds flagged for suspicious use. She was also tied to the 900 million peso Malampaya fund scam and questioned for overspending during the 2007 ASEAN Summit projects meant to symbolize progress became symbols of decay. The Cebu International Convention Center, built for 1 billion pesos, now stands abandoned and deteriorating in the middle of urban poverty. 1 billion peso reminder of waste. Then you have the IMSA and North Rail deals. Foreign contracts plagued by overpricing that cost taxpayers another 7.3 billion pesos. And of course, the infamous Hello Garcia wiretap, suggesting electoral fraud in 2004, a scandal that nearly brought down her presidency. She was arrested in 2011 over the PCSO case, then acquitted by the Supreme Court in 2016. Total amount tied to controversies under her presidency, 29.75 billion pesos. Number 2 is Paulo Duterte, eldest son of former President Rodrigo Duterte. While his father built his legacy on a brutal war on drugs, critics point to Pulong as a glaring contradiction, accusing him of acting as a protector of drug syndicates. In Davao, the contrast is striking. Rodrigo Duterte is respected. Pulong, many fear him, He was tied to the 6.4 billion peso shabu smuggling case in 2017. Customs insiders and fixers claimed a group called the Davao Group, allegedly led by Pulong, facilitated illegal shipments and collected millions in grease money. He has been accused of smuggling luxury cars, taking bribes in Davao ports, and shielding questionable imports, all signs of deep underworld influence. Then came the 65 billion peso Farmally scandal, where he allegedly used connections to land massive pandemic contracts. Reports also flagged 27 million pesos in unexplained wealth, ghost projects, and questionable deals across Davao. More recently, CCTV footage allegedly showed him beating a pimp in a Davao bar after not getting the girls he requested, an establishment he reportedly frequents. Critics say he uses his father's name to bend the law, control deals, and intimidate rivals. Total amount tied to allegations, 71.5 billion pesos. Despite everything, Pulong has never been indicted. Some cases were dismissed, others stalled. Many never even reached court. And notably, a large chunk of the accusations came from Antonio Trillanes, a former mutineer turned senator whose political life has been built on rebellion, exposes, and confrontation. If the country needs watchdogs, then someone like Trillanes could be one, if he learns to operate without personal vendettas. At number 1 is Martin "Sonny" Romualdez, Speaker of the House, now at the center of what may be the largest budget scandal in Philippine history. In 2025, he was accused of inserting 241 billion pesos into the national budget using falsified entries. The complaint filed with the Ombudsman includes 12 counts of graft and falsification, alleging that chunks of these funds were channeled to favored contractors. But here's the bombshell. 32 billion pesos of that alleged insertion was reportedly used to pressure lawmakers into signing the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte, per congressman. 25 million pesos in ayuda, 25 million pesos from AICs, 100 million pesos in infrastructure allocations. In total, 215 lawmakers signed. This wasn't his first controversy. In 2022, Romualdez was linked to a 3 billion peso bribery attempt involving the Okada Manila casino ownership dispute. As of mid-2025, none of these allegations have resulted in a conviction, but they remain documented, serious, and under active scrutiny. Total amount tied to his name, 245.8 billion pesos. According to the World Bank, corruption costs the Philippines up to 2% of GDP annually, billions that could lift millions out of poverty. Singapore ranks among the least corrupt nations thanks to strict enforcement and digital governance. Indonesia uses e-procurement to curb bribery. The lesson? Laws are not enough. Technology and political will are the real antidotes. In 2025, reforms are underway. The Ombudsman pushes for faster case resolution. EDCA sites now require transparency audits. Digital platforms track government spending. But will it be enough? Corruption is not just a crime. It's a culture, breaking. It demands more than laws. It demands citizens who refuse to look away, leaders who choose integrity over influence, and systems that make corruption harder than honesty. Can the Philippines finally turn the tide? Or will corruption continue to evolve, hiding behind new masks? And there it is, the top 10 allegedly most corrupt Filipinos in recent history. Some have been convicted. Others remain under investigation. Many continue walking in and out of power, untouched, unbothered, and undefeated. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let your voice be heard. If this opened your eyes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because the more people know, the harder it becomes for corruption to hide. Can the Philippines finally turn the tide? Or will corruption continue to evolve, hiding behind new masks?